You're welcome.
All right. Sorry about that. I was just getting making sure everything's running good. We're ready to go for tonight's episode of Beyond the NFT. Very happy to see you all here. I see a few of you in Twitch. Welcome. Thank you very much for popping in. 13, J Name, Make. I see you out there. Sevga, Rustan, Odd Job. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Alan Howick. We got Roots in the building. Yo, Roots, I gotta get you back on Beyond the NFT, my brother, because I've seen your build. I've seen all the improvements you have made since the last time I interviewed you. When you came on Beyond the NFT, you had a single parcel with that, with the the structure there, and I love to see how your world has expanded into an entire field. So we definitely keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Hello, Ada. Ada Lovelace. Thank you very much for joining us. If this is your first time here at Beyond the NFT, make sure to ask plenty of questions to our guest. This is a Monday night talk show that we host every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Let's see, looking around the room. What up, Graphical? Thank you very much for popping in. There, I see the lovely Brittany rocking her muse. She's all mewed up, ready to go for tonight. And right next to her, we have Zara. Mew, 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 Zara. And we got Old Guy in the building. Welcome. And Q-Belf, thank you very much for joining us. Of course, we have the legendary Stony Eye. Awesome show earlier, Stony. Thank you, Rustan. Thank you, Stony, for the shows over at Mofaya Monday. And of course, we cannot forget about Felons, my good friend. Thank you for pulling up. So I'm just gonna bring up the list here, make sure I didn't miss anyone, like Z Kyle, Z. I gotta learn how to say your name, man. We're gonna jump in a chat one of these days, and you're gonna let me know. ZKL, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. um, let's see. Okay, I believe I may have said hello to all of you. We got Multi Hulk that just popped in. Thank you very much for popping in. Welcome to the CBD Plaza. So we have our guest in the backstage, ready to go. Tonight we have Sean Mann joining us, co-founder of RP1. Should be a good episode, should be a fun one. So stand by, everyone. And of course, you see the logo up above that way over there. That is a Bucktown MMA. Big shout out to Bucktown. Thank you for sponsoring us here for Beyond the NFT. And yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna go backstage, get us ready to go for tonight's show. Love you all. Thank you.
Why they project perceptions like a hologram fed. Mass manipulation, that's the chronicle thread. A paradox, truth dies where the politics bled. They fabricate the data, then they annotate the blame. Propagate the narratives to calibrate your frame. Every broadcast crafted like a ballot box game. Information gets encrypted in a palindrome maze. Geostrategic, every conflict got logistics, statistics twisted. Politicians optimistic, but the body counts realistic. Scripts simplistic, they pixelate the picture so the masses miss the misprint. Call it questioning, they label it conspiracy, but facts hidden purposely distort collective memory. Is symmetry, the lies align cynically, stacked like code in a system built differently. Hill of AL, back, see the lines they redact, every concept, abstract, truth buried in stacks. We decode, reload, break the mold, they craft. Critical mind shine with a blindfold cracks. Hill of AL, back, see the lines they redact, every concept, abstract, truth buried in stacks. We decode, reload, break the mold, they craft. Critical mind shine with a blindfold cracks. I flow algorithmic, break encryption with suspicion while the world's in a trance from a centralized transmission. Every crisis pre-scripted with immaculate precision, and the facts get fragmented through bureaucratic division. Propaganda panoramic, widescreen panic, feed the public static till the paradigm shatters, but the pattern is thematic. Systematic mechanics turn humanity erratic while elites climb.
Hello everyone, welcome to Beyond the NFT. I am your host Sinful, and tonight we're joined by Sean Mann, co-founder and CEO of RP1. Sean and his team are building the first metaverse browser infrastructure designed to do for the spatial internet what the web browser did for the World Wide Web. Tonight we're diving into open standards, the future of spatial computing, and what it takes to move past walled gardens into a truly open metaverse. Let's go beyond the NFT. Welcome, Sean. Thank you so much for joining us here on Beyond the NFT. How are you doing tonight?
How's it going, Sinful? It's great to see you.
How'd you like that intro?
The intro was perfect. I mean, I was like, wow, I like this.
So usually when I'd like to just start off the show by passing the mic over to the guest in case the intro did you no justice, or if it did, but it requires more details. So if the mic is yours, feel free to say hello to everyone and share a little bit about yourself, who you are, and how we got to where we are today.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you inviting me to be on the show. And it's amazing to be with your followers and for people that really are interested about the future of the metaverse and kind of even what the metaverse is. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But I've been in technology my entire life. I was actually a gamer, back in the college days, and before then, I was actually a Street Fighter 2 champion in the world and a big Ultima Online player. And I got into tech, and I've been a part of a lot of tech companies where I had to take 0 to 1, really taking a really unique product and bringing it to market. And that's been my career for a couple decades. And about 5 years ago, we got started with a company called RP1. And we started around technology that, when we heard about the idea of the metaverse, which I think when we all really fell in love with the name, was the idea that you can be this one person and easily connect to an unlimited number of places and games and work or whatever you wanted to do, and it would be seamless, just like how you move from one website to another. And it was funny because my partner, one of the biggest challenges for the big idea of the metaverse was, how do you connect a billion people seamlessly when you're only stuck being able to put 20 to 50 people in a single snow globe? And my partner was like, well, I solved that technology. And he said, let's tell the world we did this so we can, really make this big vision happen sooner. And it was funny because there's lots of articles saying, well, the biggest limitation of actually creating a worldwide metaverse was that the chipsets weren't capable, or the hardware wasn't capable of connecting the world in real time in these 3D spaces and, digital twins in the real world. And we actually solved that problem. And so RP1 was started, and 5 years later, here we are together, in this chat.
Here we are, and definitely we've had plenty of chats in the past throughout the years as well. I feel like in a way I've had the opportunity to see the development and progress of RP1 as you've also developed as an individual here in the Web3 space. So, RP1, you are co-founder, CEO. For those who are not familiar, what is RP1 building, and why does the world need a metaverse browser?
Yeah. So we started off, like I said, building scaling technology. So the ability to scale to an unlimited number of users with spatial audio and sixth off, which is your ability to move avatars in any direction and do that all in real time. And not only are we able to do it with a billion users, but we can do it uncharted, which means everyone's connected to each other no matter where you go. So it's seamless to make a phone call or easily teleport to one place or walk to another place or go from the real world from virtual reality, all seamless. And so we solved that. And as we were demonstrating these technologies, we had a couple light bulb moments. We were actually building the construct of a web browser, of an actual metaverse browser using WebXR. And WebXR, for anyone that doesn't know, is really the layer that is added onto the current World Wide Web to add these 3D aspects, 3D spaces that you can own and manage. And we ran into a whole bunch of challenges, and we realized that we needed to help build the infrastructure for the world to be able to own and operate their own, let's call it 3D website, which is really what we refer to as a spatial fabric. And so we started building out not only just a WebXR prototype to show off these really cool technologies, but then we realized that no one company can own that. And so, in fact, the biggest news is that we actually took a lot of our prototyping, and we're now building something called Sneeze under the Metaverse Standards Forum, where I'm a board member. And we're actually building an open source engine that can be put into current web browsers, into devices, and also into standalone metaverse browsers to enable this evolution for the entire World Wide Web. And so it's been one heck of a journey. So RP1 kind of there's kind of like two hats I get to wear in this conversation. There's the one where I'm building open standards not owned by any company, including RP1. And then RP1 actually just becomes a service provider. So when people build their 3D websites and need to scale to lots of users, we're hopeful that they may want to use our services to make it super seamless at a really, really low cost, like kind of like hosting your own website. And so that's kind of the parallel in which RP1 rides along with the open standards that we're also creating.
And before we dig deeper into that, in your intro, you mentioned that you've been around tech and entrepreneurship all your life. What path led you to focus on spatial computing and open metaverse?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's funny. I've always been a techie. You know what I mean? I think once you're a gamer, you're into being an early adopter of new tech, like when new phones come out or new devices or things. Like I always like wanted to be the first, and I always wanted to play around and learn the technologies. And I think there's lots of people that exist out there that are like that. And it was always kind of fun to be, in the know and be able to share with my friends something cool that's coming out or that's going to impact your life. And so I've worked across, everything from security to the medical side of the world, even to cellular type products. And so I've been in tech, and I really have this strength in trying to take something that's 0 to 1, really from the get go. No one's ever heard about it, and get it to where a lot of people and companies get interested in really helping a company succeed around a new product or a new idea. And like I said, I was sitting down with a friend and we were talking about the metaverse, and he was talking about the technology that he built. And he was actually the head architect of Full Tilt Poker, and he had to
Wow.
solve a really hard technical problem. He was like, Full Tilt Poker is one of the largest poker companies in the
Yes.
world,
Hmm.
and he had to figure out how to put 100,000 poker players in a single uncharted thing. And I use the term uncharted, and maybe it'll be helpful to clarify. So if you think about like Fortnite, you can put like 100 people in Fortnite and you play the game, but there's tens of millions of people that are playing. But when you're in a game with those 100 people, you can't talk to, connect, or interact with anyone outside of the people that are actually in your single game, your single instance. It's called an instance or a shard, which is a little bit more of a technical term. And that's kind of the metaverse problem, is that right now it's we're building all these little snow globes that everyone has, lack of interoperability and fragmentation, and it's not easy to go from one snow globe to another. And so when he saw this problem, he's like, well, I built the technology to solve this, but I don't know how to get it out there. And so we joined forces and created a company, and here we are, taking this to market as far as trying to help the world build the future of virtual and real life spaces that you can connect to and have massive co-presence.
Nice. I think the space is very lucky to have you. And so, from our previous conversations and just hearing you speak overall, I've always heard you, or I often hear you compare the current state of spatial computing to the AOL moment of early internet.
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
expand on that parallel?
Yeah. So I mean, for everyone that's I'm going to age myself. I mean, I'm not that old. I don't feel that old. I still play basketball 3 times a week and kill a whole bunch of 20, 30 year olds. But as you get older, you realize that this is going back a couple of decades. But before the World Wide Web existed, there were walled garden companies, like single companies that their sole job was to keep you inside their walls. That's why it's called a walled garden.
Mhm.
And so AOL was one of those companies. In fact, when before the World Wide Web existed, everyone thought the AOL was the internet. It was the World Wide Web, where you have your email, you have your marketplaces, you have portals, you have all these things that you can do and do commerce. And then you had companies like Prodigy and CompuServe that came out, and none of them were compatible. In fact, when you got an email address in AOL, you couldn't send an email to someone in CompuServe or Prodigy. Can you believe that? So there was completely fragmented. And eventually, someone invented the web browser, created the standards that ushered in the World Wide Web. And there's one thing that AOL could not compete with. AOL is a single multi-billion-dollar company. They could not build the tools that the world would want to use, and they couldn't. Once the World Wide Web and the browser and the standards came out, everyone could build tools, everyone can own and operate their own websites, have full control of their data, and the world started building together. And that was a huge moment a couple of decades ago. And we're kind of at that same place right now for the idea of the metaverse. And the idea of the metaverse is the evolution of the web to handle all the spatial computing, to handle the future of AR glasses and digital twins and smart cities and robotics and all these cool things. But the web was really limited. So we actually have AOL like companies today. And it's not I don't want to point AOL as being a negative company. I mean, I think it's a part of the journey. But we do have companies like Meta. We do have other companies that are in that same realm that are really trying to build the devices and the ecosystems that you have to be inside, but it's not compatible with any of the other platforms. And so you have this fragmentation that hurts all of us to really kind of eventually get to this big open ecosystem that I refer to as the open metaverse.
Hmm. And I want to give a big shout out to One Existence. Thank you, One Existence, for connecting us and making the show happen today.
Yes, definitely kudos to One Existence.
Yeah, he's such a real one. Love that guy so much. Uh, moving forward, let's see. Oh, um, would follow up question to that first one. Would you say that spatial computing spatial computing faces the same challenges that it did back in the AOL days, or like or at least the challenges that the person that invented the browser had to kind of bring everyone together? Do you feel like the same
Yes.
challenges are present?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, look, for good reason. You have big companies that are spending a lot of money inventing new technologies to allow us to really understand and partake in like spatial, uh, software and experiences. And so I look at them as all the pioneers of showing what's possible and enabling people to play. But if you think about the challenges you have today, you remember, I don't know if you guys remember alt space, but you build an alt space, you have your own space, you have friends, you create communities, you start doing work, and all of a sudden Microsoft says, you know what, it's not something we want to do anymore, and everyone lost everything that they did. And so if you look across all the wall garden platforms, there's lots of them that were here and disappeared. There's software ecosystems that were here and disappeared. And if we really want to move the world to an open metaverse where we're looking at, you walk into an airport and AI greets you and helps you drop off your bags and helps you find the gates or order a burger, or you can go around and someone in VR or at home can join you in the real world and you can instantly talk to them and interact and they can see what you see. We knew that this was not going to work with just a whole bunch of wall gardens trying to connect to each other, right? Because there's no way to get a Meta to agree to work with Roblox and every other platform that exists out there. That's never going to happen, and I think there's a precedence for that. So to answer your question, I think the parallels are almost exactly the same thing. And right now we're going through the growing pains of this really cool technology that is not available for the masses because there's just too much friction. It's too hard. Like Sinful. Imagine if I called you up and I'm like, hey, I got this really cool experience in Roblox. And you're like, well, I've never been to Roblox. So now you have to, go to
Hmm.
Roblox, download it, create an account, create an avatar, and then learn the whole UX and then figure out how to find my single experience. That would be miserable. Right. But with the web, you don't need to do that. You open up a browser, you open up an app, you just go right there and everyone can connect. And it's super, super easy. And so I think that's as you say, the parallels couldn't be more exact. And I think we're about to solve that with these new standards, which is really going to bring us all together, which is really what the metaverse is supposed to be. It's not to, it's to unify us, not to separate us in these small experiences.
Most definitely. And so we have a question from our audience here from Old Guy,
Okay.
and he's heard you speak a few times at the
I know,
CBD
old guy.
spaces as
Yeah,
well.
old guy's another old guy. I love it. He's makes me feel at home.
So his question is, how long do you believe before adoption of Web3, and w how long it will before that happens? Oh, how long will it be till that happens? Yeah.
So when you say Web3, and again, I want to just make sure I answer the question because I think Web3 is used in so many different ways. So Web3 could be as, the idea of the metaverse, right? And then Web3 can be just decentralized like Bitcoin or, NFTs or all that kind of stuff. So maybe, old man, if you can clarify, because I want to make sure I answer your question really directly because it can mean a lot of things to different people. Even though, I look at Web3 as more of like the NFT and kind of the Bitcoin and all that type of stuff thing. But if you have any clarification, I'm happy to go in a little bit deeper. But to me, if you're talking about the Web3, the NFTs and whatnot, right now you need these open ecosystems to be able to usher in these types of technologies that everyone can use across every location, right? Because you're not going to force Web3 technology into Roblox or into any other platform. But if you have an open ecosystem where people can decide to adopt these Web3 technologies on their own 3D website, that's what's going to enable this to be interoperable and work across all experiences. And so it's not the job of the metaverse to force Web3 on everyone. Web3 becomes a choice you can make with your own experience. So if I'm Walmart and I have 10,000 locations and I want to use Web3 like technologies, I should be able to do that. If I'm going to build, if I'm having a community of 10,000 locations like Decentraland and they want to have their own tokenomics or something like that, they should be able to allow to do that. And no one should be able to tell them what they can or cannot do. But that doesn't mean that your token will work across every single location all over the metaverse, right? So it should be an open ecosystem where people can adopt those types of currencies or things to accomplish what they're doing within their own communities. And so these open standards will make that all possible across every experience.
So before we go a little further into like standards, could you give us the kind of like a rundown of what the Metaverse Standards Forum is?
Yeah, the Metaverse Standards Forum was created a couple years ago by Neil Trevitt. He's a VP over at NVIDIA, and he's also the founder and president of the Kronos Group, which is the largest standards group around 3D assets like GLTF and Vulkan and a whole bunch of other really amazing technologies that are being used on the web daily, right? And when he created the Metaverse Standards Forum, it was to really unify people around that term. And the reason why you create standard organizations is to have a conversation, have shared resources, and creating things that everyone can use. And so the Metaverse Standards Forum is funny enough, is actually not a standards organization. It's actually a forum that brings standard organizations together to help solve for the metaverse. And so when we were building out our prototype, we knew that we couldn't own this technology. We had to build an open engine that is not controlled. And in fact, just to give you a little kind of tidbit, and this might be going a little technical, but if you look at the current web browser like Chrome and Safari, they're all built on open engines. The Chrome is Blink is the engine for Chrome, and WebKit is what is under Safari. And these are open engines. In fact, if any of you own like a Quest 3, which I'm sure you have, like a Quest 3, like from Meta, they have the MetaQuest browser. And guess what? It's built on Chromium and Blink. So they just take those open engine standards, they create their own white label and browser, and boom, they can now read and see websites and render websites just like Chrome and Safari can, right? And so that's why you need these open source engines. And so we're creating under the Metaverse Standards Forum, which we just launched. It's called OMBI, which is the Open Metaverse Browser Initiative. And we're actually creating something called Sneeze, which I think is kind of funny. It's an homage to the term Blink, which is the engine under Chromium. Blink, sneeze, you get it, kind of laugh, cough, whatever you want to use. But we use Sneeze, and it's an open source engine that is being built in the open under the Metaverse Standards Forum that anyone can participate and be a part of. And so that's all being done today. And what it solves what WebXR can't do for the web. And there's a handful of things which we can get into on what limits WebXR and why we're actually building a new engine to solve for the open metaverse.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have a follow-up from old guy. He said that he was talking about what you are talking about, full adoption of the metaverse.
Oh, for Web3? Yeah, you're spot on, old guy. And I think the reason why a lot of Web3 has not been adopted is that, if it doesn't work across, or wall garden, platforms don't want to use them, if it's not interoperable and it can't work across all experiences, it's really hard to build out and spread around thing. And it has to be easy to use. And so there's a lot of challenges that still need to be solved within Web3. You don't want the big gas fees. It has to be seamless. When we're not talking about how it works, then Web3 is going to be awesome, right? If it's as simple as me just handing you a hat and I give you a payment and I go on my merry way, that's when Web3 is going to be awesome. And I still think there is, a handful of things that need to be solved, and I don't want to go too deep in Web3, but I think there is definitely a use case, and I think there's ways to help also protect creators in building cool stuff. And actually, it's kind of like imagine if I had a sports card, like collector's cards, like Pokemon cards, all this kind of stuff. How do I know I have a real one, right? And I think there's definitely use for Web3 type technologies where creators can create things and know that you have something that's authentic. And I think that's where these technologies can be awesome. But until these big platforms adopt them, they don't get used. But with the open standards, no one can stop you from using them. And I think that's where it's going to be really powerful.
Mm-hmm. And I like what you mentioned, kind of like what I got. In order for the world to adopt all of this, we need to kind of put a cover over the whole sign transactions, gas fee, aspect of it all the technical side, where like someone may be like, oh, I don't know if I should sign this wallet or sign this contract here.
If your grandma cannot use it to go buy something really fast, then it's too hard. I mean,
Hmm.
it's all the early adopters will use it. Everyone will understand the benefit, but until it's seamless, then it can't grow to the masses. And there's lots of amazing companies that are solving those problems to make it super seamless. And I think we're just in the earlier stages of Web3, and as those are being solved, and as you get the open ecosystems that we're talking about, these are all going to come together to really create, not only just an open metaverse, but an open metaverse where payments and solutions are really free to choose from.
Hmm. Okay, so I have a question from our good pal One Exist. He's saying, I was trying to get Artemis, but got stopped at he got stopped at the part where he may need a domain. He's asking if he could use a .eth domain. Um, he just
Yeah.
wants to set it up and play around and create things.
Well, we haven't got to Artemis yet, but that's a great question. But for everyone that doesn't know what Artemis is, so RP1 is also building the first native browser using the open source engine at the Metaverse Standards Forum, Sneeze. And so Artemis is literally the first native metaverse browser that is using Sneeze, where people can build their own 3D websites, which is called a spatial fabric. And anyone that downloads and installs Artemis can easily connect to any person's 3D space, and that person that owns that 3D space, they have full ownership and full choice, just like owning and running your website. It's exactly like the web ecosystem, but now you get to own your own 3D space. You don't have to worry about how you render it. You don't have to worry about the networking and all the layers. You just build your 3D site. You can put whatever assets you want in there, and people can seamlessly go there using a native metaverse browser. And eventually, Sneeze will be incorporated into web browsers where they can also go to your location as well seamlessly through any web browser. And so that's the goal. We're just in the early days. But yeah, Artemis, to answer your question, you can get any .com or any extension. It doesn't matter what your URL is, and you can build your own 3D space, and people then can download Artemis and go to your space. The things that are missing right now, because it is an early alpha, is you don't have avatars, we don't have identity solved. We don't have VPS, so it doesn't know where you're at in the real world. That's all being built as we speak, and the graphics are being worked on by some major companies to bring in a true full-on native rendering. So we're talking about gorgeous graphics that stream in real time from any 3D website. It's going to be pretty spectacular.
All right, so you can use an ENS for your domain on Artemis.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Alrighty.
not on Artemis. But so I want to distinguish, because
Yes.
just even that using the language, you
Mhm.
don't build on Chrome, you don't build on Safari. So the job of Chrome is when someone says, I want to go to Nike.com, it goes ahead and fetches those websites and displays them and renders them for you. The same thing with metaverse browsers is you own and operate your own location. It's not controlled by any company. If Artemis goes away and there's another company that uses Sneeze as an open browser, your website will still, your 3D website will still be able to be found and interacted with. And so there's no control or ownership by Artemis or by Sneeze whatsoever. This is truly replicating the exact same ecosystem that we've used for the last couple of decades around websites. It just makes it, the handful of things, if you want to be specific, is that it handles the native rendering. And when I say native rendering, you're not rendering inside of WebXR. And WebXR is limited by how much memory and triangles, where when you have a native renderer, you get access to the local resources of the device, which means the graphics are going to be much higher level, much closer to like Unity and like Unreal level type graphics that are all streaming in real time with no installs whatsoever. So there's literally no friction. You don't download apps. People don't have to download your space and wait for it to load. They just go to your URL, and instantly I can start talking and interacting with you in your space with anyone. Or you may have it locked where people can't join, or it's like your own website. You control who has access, who's allowed to go there, what they see, what software exists on there, and no one has to
Mhm.
install anything. It just works. It's pretty neat.
Thank you for the clarification. And then Rustan says, I feel like Sean needs to connect with Jin from M3 Metaverse Makers, if you haven't
Rus-
already.
Well, Rostan, you're awesome, and I remember you from the Sunday days on at Decentraland talks on Twitter. And Jin is awesome. I mean, he's definitely a pioneer. We spoke to Jin, I think, early when we were figuring this stuff out. I don't think he has an update on what we're doing today. But man, not only is Jin, but anyone is welcome to join this. Again, this is not we're not building a walled garden platform. We're not building a company. These are truly open standards that we're inviting anyone, and you can join the Metaverse Standards Forum. You can go to rp1.com's, Discord. But this is the opportunity where anyone can, kind of bring code or engineering time to help make these standards. This is being built in the open. In fact, we had one huge announcement. The University of Rochester created the Open Metaverse Academic Alliance. We have over 40 universities already signed up, and we should have a couple hundred over the next 6 to 9 months that are all going to be contributing to these new open standards for the entire evolution of the web. And so this is being built by everyone, but Jin is awesome. So thanks for pointing him out. He's great. I think he's a pioneer and has been thinking about this stuff for as long as I have. And obviously, we would love his participation and help. And so happy to have him, join the project.
Yeah, maybe that's just like the idea bubble to come up and be like, maybe I should reconnect with them, see what's up.
Definitely. I'll definitely have to say, you know what? I'm 100% I'm going to send him a note after this because it's been a while since we've chatted.
Yes, let's go. So kind of like taking a few steps back because we kind of jumped into Artemis.
Yes.
You often say that you are building all of this out in the open. What does open actually mean in the context of RP1 and the work that you do within the Metaverse Standard Forum?
Yeah, that's a great question. So RP1, since we've architected and we understand the challenges of WebXR and why we need a native engine and how we're building all these components, we are taking our expertise, some of the things that we've solved for the web, and we're basically giving that time to the Metaverse Standards Forum. And so we're kind of, like I said before, we're wearing kind of two hats. And so the stuff that we're building under Sneeze, which is this open engine that anyone can use, including any device, any company, any individual can take this open engine and build their own browser if they wanted to, and using this technology. And so that's all being built in the open in GitHub. The source control is there, the source code, excuse me, is all there. Anyone can contribute to it. You can join the Metaverse Standards Forum to be a part of, having conversations about the different components like avatars or identity or VPS, all these different things that our Sneeze is solving for. And so anyone can come in and participate, bring value, and if it makes sense for the architecture, it gets added. And so it's not like we're building it, telling everyone exactly how it needs to go. But I think we've done a lot of the hard work to jumpstart what that looks like, because it's hard to go from 0 to 1 with a lot of people contributing, because everyone's going to have different ideas on how technically things work, because this is really heavy technical stuff. You're talking about building console windows, dealing with multi-origin, and how do you bring multiple services that are all over the world under one massive security umbrella. And it's as complicated, if not more, than the current web browser. And so we're solving the really, really hard problems. But you'll be able to see all of this in the open. So you can go to GitHub now and actually see the code of Sneeze and see everything that's being built, day by day.
Love it. I love it. Let's see. Old guy. I think it may be a follow-up, and I may need more context. Is RP1 partnering up with others to solve issues they have?
So RP1, we've solved, and I mentioned this earlier, we solved the problem of scale. And so when you build your 3D website, how do you make it easy? There's actually a couple of problems that we solved. One is eventually there's going to be hundreds of thousands of 3D websites. So how do you bring all of those together in a single map? And so RP1 has created a map system that can link all the different locations together. Think of it kind of like what ICANN does for the entire World Wide Web. So ICANN helps manage .coms and .nets and .ai and all these URLs. So that if you have a URL, it all works in DNS. It can all be resolved and people can find your location. Well, now we're talking about spaces. So imagine if you're wearing AR glasses and I'm walking down the street and there's Chase Bank, and then there's Old Guy's House, and then there's Walmart. How do my glasses connected to a browser know that there's different spatial fabrics around me, different 3D websites that are owned and operated by these different people, and connect me, allow me to spatially browse those locations. That's really hard to do, and the web wasn't designed for this. And so we have built that technology, and so we're helping bring technology that typically would cost 1,000 times more, but because how we solved it in software, it's going to be close to the cost of running websites. And so we're going to help democratize. There's a reason why these platforms exist, because as soon as someone's like, well, I want to connect 500 people, and they're like, wait a minute, I got to pay $300 a month and build out my own servers or connect to a third party software, it becomes really expensive. That's why it's hard for lots of people to adopt. And they're reliant on alt spaces or Robloxes because they provide that networking. And but guess what? You give up. You give up 90% of your revenue. You give up your data. You give up all the items you build. You don't have control the avatar systems. And so, with the RP1's technology, we're hopeful that it will democratize building out all these 3D websites. But the cool thing is, you're not locked into RP1. Sinful, if you were to solve it 1,000 times better than we've solved it, you can go sell your services, and people can pick and choose the services they want to use from any company in the world. We just happen to have technology that we believe people would need and want and appreciate that we're bringing to the table. And so that's in conjunction with the open standards that we're building under the Metaverse Standards Forum.
Thank you. And so then we have a question from Felons. He starts with, "Hey Sean, it's been a minute. I hopped in and out of RP1 over the last few years, and I'm stoked to see RP1 has progressed so much. He's curious about rendering of metaverse sites. Are there standards for importing from Blender and or Unity, Unreal Engine, etc.?"
That is an awesome question. And so we are actually solving the problem that your question indirectly is asking. So you're like, hey, there is all these different kind of monolithic gaming engines, and will I be able to bring those together or take stuff out of it and bring it to the open standards? And the answer is yes. That's why we're developing what we're developing. Because the problem is, if you're a Unity developer, that means your stuff doesn't work in Unreal. And if you build something in Blender, it doesn't necessarily work across. And so we want to build, and it's not inventing everything from the ground up. We're using GLTF, we're using GLBs, we're using USD. Like, all these open standards that exist today can contribute to building your 3D website. The only difference is that it all streams in real time. So you can't bring like 5 GB of data and make someone download all 5 GB before they can even enter your space. It all has to happen in real time. So when I go to your spatial fabric, your house, let's say you build a digital twin with it could be with Gaussian splats or 3D scenes or however you want to build it out. When I go there, I shouldn't have to download the entire house and the backyard and everywhere. I just need to stream what's in front of me and around me. And as I move around, it pulls in that data. And so the answer to your question is it's all being on open source tools where anyone can become the WordPress of these open standards. And that includes having tools that convert things from Unity or Blender to work with streamable assets. Streamability is the most important thing. Everything has to stream in bite size for this to all work and be seamless. And so the goal is, and the cool thing is, if we don't do it, you can. Like, anyone can build these tools. So you're no longer stuck under one company that dictates the tools that you use. And if you don't have features, well, too bad. This is an open ecosystem, just like web tools, where anyone, you think about the thousands upon thousands of web tools that exist in building web infrastructure. The same is now going to happen with these new standards, where you're no longer stuck in a monolithic gaming engine. You can actually build, and you no longer have to worry about the hard programming. The job of the browser is actually to be the renderer. So you just build the 3D space. Just like when you build a website, you don't know how to render it. You don't have to worry about like what happens. You just build 3D websites, and the browser comes along and displays it for anyone in the world. The same will be true with the native metaverse browser or any browser that uses the Sneeze engine. It has a native renderer built in. And so, to be more technical, because some people are technical on this, we're actually using Inari, which is an API for renderers. So that means if let's say Chrome wants to build using Sneeze, they can pick a different renderer, but Inari will force it to work across all spatial fabrics. So that means when you build your 3D website, it will work across anyone using the Sneeze engine, which is the most important thing in standards. And so that you don't have to worry about you build and it's not compatible. Let's say like if you built a website and it doesn't work with 3 out of the 4 browsers, that would suck. It wouldn't really be the World Wide Web it is today. And so that's why you have to build these types of standards to make sure when someone builds a 3D website, it will work across all gaming engines that use the open standard Sneeze.
Thank you. creator thing. Looks like I have another question from One Exist. Do I need a domain in order to use the Artemis creator thing? I've downloaded it and some other stuff, but stopped there. Is .eth domain okay? I think this may be.
An old question. Yeah. You could build, you would have to have your own web server. So it's no different than building, we call it a metaverse server, but it's just like having your own web server. Eventually there'll be lots of third-party companies that you can host your own 3D website on, right? Or you have to do it on your own web server. So there's a massive opportunity for people to sell services and things just like they did for the web. But yeah, you would have to build your own, web server, and you would build your own 3D space, and you'd have to have your own URL so that the browser knows where to find that. At some point, you're going to point your 3D space at what's called a universal map system. And RP1 will be providing one of those where we have a digital twin of the entire universe, one-to-one scale. It's unbelievable. In fact, you can see that in our WebXR demo, but you literally can walk across spatial fabrics. You can go up to space, and anyone can attach anywhere. Well, I shouldn't say anywhere. The digital twin of planet Earth is reserved for people that actually own the space in the real world. So your house or Walmart's location or Chase Bank, they automatically have rights to that XYZ coordinate space on planet Earth. And if you want to build something that has nothing to do with Earth, there's unlimited space outside of our solar system where you could build whatever you want, including things like Star Wars Galaxy one-to-one scale. And the cool thing is when you're in our map, you can have one avatar that seamlessly walks across all locations, whether you're walking in the real world or you want to go to some really cool virtual space or a made-up space that people build, but you can seamlessly go anywhere from any device. It's pretty crazy. And that's what we showcase in our WebXR demo. That's what made people, their jaw drop. They're like, how is this possible? You have 100,000 users on 30 computers roaming around an endless map, owned and operated by different people. It was just mind blowing. So that's what helped us build all these standards that we're bringing into the Metaverse Standards Forum.
Okay, so kind of a follow-up question a personal follow-up question from me.
Go for it.
You've mentioned that you need to set up a web server. Would this mean like kind of like, for example, I use the server provider Hetzner, or others use Supabase, kind of like set up one of these dedicated servers that to house like an IP or your web, like for example, I house my website on my Hetzner server. Sort of like have one of those boxes, and you'll be able to link it up with Artemis.
Exactly. It's just like how you would manage a website. You know what I mean? So you can have third-party companies that either provide a server. Obviously, you can use like Linux or you can use Windows. There's a whole bunch of things that you can use, and then you'd pick and choose the software that you want to use. But you're just managing. I mean, spatial fabric is really, it's not that fancy. I mean, a spatial fabric is a fancy term for the evolution of websites. So instead of calling it a website, you call it a spatial fabric. And your fabric is your 3D website. And really all it is a map where you can put 3D assets. And here's the one thing we haven't talked about, and this is what's going to make everyone drool. And at least from me as a gamer and just someone from a technology standpoint, you can bring any piece of software, real time or not, owned and operated by anyone in the world from any server, drop it anywhere on the location of that map, and you can instantly connect to it from any device, anybody. So imagine like you and I are chilling right now in a space, and we're like, we want to play chess. You can literally go out to an open marketplace, grab a chessboard, put it right in between us, and you and I can just start playing chess and don't have to install anything. It just works. Like if I were to go into an airport and there's an AI or a robot that I need to control, I would just instantly be able to control it because it's just a service, which is real software that just is spatially aware that I can connect to without having to install anything. The browser removes the entire friction of any experience where I can just stream the assets. I can connect to any service that's located in that space, and anyone from any device, whether it's mobile, desktop, VR, or even the future of AR glasses, can instantly connect with each other seamlessly. Everyone just connects to the browser. It's no different like if all of us want to be on a chat room or on this Twitter space or on Twitch, we don't have to install anything. We just go to the location, and guess what? All of us are here together talking, interacting, and chatting. And the web makes that possible. And what we're building makes it possible in 3D spaces with real software. And that's the magical stuff. This is when the metaverse becomes interactive, and you can bring in AI, you can drop in any software built by anyone with security better than how the current web works. It's pretty nuts. I mean, this is a very big project. I mean, it's hard because I'm here. It's hard for me to even say that. like here I am, building out the standards for the internet, talking about the future of how all of us come together, as if like it was back in the day when I built, someone built the first web browser, saying, don't worry, everyone's gonna be building these things called websites and we're all gonna connect to each other no matter where you're at in the world. You would laugh at me, but we're at that moment right now. We're actually building these standards in the open to make this all finally possible. It's the big vision, right?
Mm-hmm. So let's see. One exists said, "How much are those?" Supabase. I believe you could use Supabase, limited version of Supabase for free until you get to a subscription. And then, as Rustan mentioned, one exists. I think $14. You can get the low tier Hetzner server for a month. So $14 a month, or
Yeah,
unless you have some solutions that may be good.
there's some free services out there that allow you to build a web server with minimal traffic. You know what I mean? And their goal is, as you get more traffic, you're going to eventually buy some of their services. So I think they exist all over. You can just Google them. There's plenty of companies. And so, yes, it's going to cost something, but who knows? There may be companies that come in and help you host, and you can build communities like Decentraland, right? So Decentraland literally could convert to using these open spatial fabrics. And, Decentraland could say, here's a planet outside of our solar system called Decentraland, and here is all of the XYZ coordinate spaces, and people can have spatial fabrics. But the cool thing is your avatar can go from your fictitious spatial fabric on Decentraland and seamlessly now go to Walmart or to Microsoft's Office because you work there or wherever it is. You seamlessly can go anywhere, and that's the whole point of having the idea of the World Wide Web, is that I'm not restricted just to a game or just to the real world. It connects all of those pieces. And so, there is some minor fees, but then, you own your data. You control everything that you do, and it's seamless for anyone to go there. And so eventually I believe everyone will adopt, but I think those costs will come down. I mean, that's the whole reason why RP1 is bringing those services, is to make it as close to running and operating a website for 3D spaces, which without RP1's technology, it would be so expensive that people wouldn't be able to build their own spatial fabrics. And so that's where I think we help democratize making that possible for everybody.
Love it. I love it. All right, just looking around the room, making sure everyone. Oh, there's Forensics. Hello, Forensics. Welcome, welcome. We always have friends popping in and out as the show goes along, and I see Stephen YY has joined us here too. Yeah, it's been a great show tonight. I love seeing all the questions come in from the audience. And let me even go ahead.
No, I got something cool to share. So if you think about it right now, and I'm sure people have seen in the news, but you have about 8 to 9 major companies, some of the biggest tech companies in the world, that are racing to build commercially viable AR glasses. And these AR glasses, and the reason why everyone is doing this is because it truly can replace cell phones. And so I remember back in the day when cell phones started coming out, and people are like, I would never carry a cell phone. That's the dumbest idea in the world. We got all these landlines. I don't need to have a cell phone in my pocket. And then the cell phones were way too big. They were stuck to cars, or they were ginormous to put next to your ear, or they cost, like the cost of a car. And everyone was like, this is ridiculous. But eventually they got so small, and every single person walked around with cell phones. I want you to think about when you walk around the real world. Imagine you put on AR glasses, and let's say, Sinful, you're wherever you're in Florida or wherever it is, and you open up your laptop or throw a VR headset on and you join me in the real world, and I just instantly see you right in front of me, and I'm like, hey, Sinful, come with me. We're going to go into the museum, or I got to go into this meeting. Why don't you come with me? And we're just talking as freely as if you're joining me in the real world. That is going to be the next level of us communicating. It's going to be as if you were right next to me, as close to reality as possible. That's the promise of the metaverse. The web brought us together in web pages, in chat rooms, in flat screens. The metaverse brings us together as if you're physically actually there with me, whether it's family or work or play, it doesn't matter, right? And so these AR glasses, if you think about it, when you hold up your phone with your 4 to 6 inch screen, it's kind of hard to look around you, right? But when you put on AR glasses that just see the world in front of you, and people can join you, there's things to connect with and interact with. In fact, this would be a good time to actually show the video. If you can show the video, I'll show you what the future of AR glasses is going to look like. And people are going to be able to build virtual spaces that will connect with the real world. This is the dream of the metaverse. And so show the video that I sent you. I sent you the YouTube link Remember in Discord?
Yep, I have it right
That,
here.
that, yep.
So I'll just we'll go on mute and we'll play the video.
Audio, so we can talk over it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So I would actually go a little bit fast forward. Go about probably like about a half a minute. It's right when you start seeing the people walk around. Well, it'll catch up. It's not that far. Hold on. It's only, I think it's a 2-minute video at all, so
Yeah.
it's not that bad. That's just showing open tooling, and everyone can build and host their own data and control everything that you want, including your revenue. You're no longer, there's no landlord anymore, right? You can publish 3D content like the web. So that means anyone can put 3D content on your own space, and instantly it'll work for everybody. But here's the picture right here. This is what I think. So imagine you're walking in a mall, and instantly you can connect to different things, or people call you and they can join you in the real world. And imagine now I'm walking around like a university, and all of a sudden there's these things around me that I can connect to, whether it's menu systems or advertising or things that, and this is owned and operated by the university. And I'd be able to connect with students and join in classrooms. But the cool thing of what the metaverse browser does, which is not possible with the current web, is why we're building Sneeze, is that you have spatial fabrics around you. So you have the restaurant on the left, you have navigational software, you have this Uber. These all coexist in the same scene that you're looking at through your AR glasses. And it makes it super easy to pick and choose the things that you want to interact with. And so this works not only in just walking around the real world, but also works in companies like enterprises. So you're going to build software that manage your robots and warehousing software. Imagine you have all these different pieces of software that exist, and with your AR glasses, you'll just see it naturally. You'll know where not to walk for safety reasons, or someone from the real world can join you in the warehouse and say, "Oh, you should move this or there," even though they're not there. And so it's a way to connect. And this is the killer right here: is the co-presence. So the person in the middle, the young boy, he's coming in VR, and he's seeing a digital twin of the house, and you're seeing just him in your AR glasses, and you're instantly able to have a conversation. And imagine me grabbing a chessboard built by you, Sinful. You have a chess game logic on your server, and I drop it right on the table, and we can all just start playing. It makes it seamless for us to all connect in this massive co-presence. It's pretty badass. I mean, this is really what the cool future is going to bring. Not the avatars and things that we've seen in some of these closed platforms that just couldn't get to this big dream and vision.
So yes, I've definitely noticed that there are companies that are pivoting to AR glasses. One that I can think of specifically is Snap, the creators of Snapchat. They have done a full, I believe, from what I read at least, it hinted at a full pivot to AR glasses. That's going to be their focus here. And of course, we have Meta with the Ray-Bans, and they seem to be doing great. So, like, this is like, I almost said this is a far out future, but how far out do you think we are to kind of having these experiences?
We're talking about in a year or two. I mean, this is happening really, really fast. And so let me clarify. So the Snap specs are one of the first kind of standalone AR glasses, which means you don't need to connect it to a computer. You don't need to connect it to a puck. They're literally like a mobile phone. Like it's just a mobile phone that you have. You just put on your face. The smart glasses by Meta don't have the same feature sets. They don't have the full 6 DoF. They don't have the full computing in the actual glasses. They're much lightweight. It's more for just having an app or two and just a couple of audio and take some pictures and video or whatnot. But the true AR glasses is really what Snap spec. But Meta does have their version, which is called Project Orion, which you guys I'm sure you've heard about or you can look up. And Apple is, they announced that they're building their version. You have Samsung that's coming out. You have Pico. You have lots and lots of companies because they know it can replace the iPhone. And that's why Apple has to build this, because 80% of their revenue is all generated from the iPhone. And so if these are going to be the next mobile device that replace mobile phones, that's why you see so many companies spending billions of dollars to get it right, to get it into a small form factor, to make it seamless to work. And here's the challenge, and this is why what we're building is so important, is imagine you buy Snap specs, and let's say old guy buys the Apple version when it comes out, and One Existence buys the Meta version, and everyone has their different versions. Well, how do you communicate with each other? How do you build software that works across all of those devices? And the answer is, without these open standards that we're talking about and the Sneeze project and the future of 3D spatial websites, that you can't bring these devices together. They're going to be in all like standalone places. There's going to be friction, and it's going to be really hard. And you're going to have companies that control the entire experience. They control the AI that you're going to interact with. With this open browser engine, you get to pick and choose the device you want to use. It's no different than, let's say, and I'll give you a great example. Right now, if iPhones were to disappear, an airport wouldn't shut down. You have other mobile devices, you have other devices that run that airport. It is not predicated on one device.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine if an airport bought a standalone walled garden, glasses from one company. There's no way they're going to do that, because if also, let's say they bought Snap Specs for all their employees, and all of a sudden Snap said, you know what, we're going to go back to social media. We're not down with the AR glasses anymore. What do you think, the airport's going to shut down? So you need these open standards for the world to adopt these technologies. It's like a cart before the horse. If you don't have the open standards, how do people adopt them and not have to worry that all of these disappear? And so eventually every company is going to build spatial infrastructure. You need the standards that bring all these devices together, and everyone wins together. And so that's why this is such a massive project, and it's not just for AR glasses. I mean, obviously the browser works across all devices, but I think AR glasses is truly what needs spatial browsing. So if I'm walking around, I can connect all the really cool experiences, or you can join me instantly in my house and be able to watch TV or interact with me in a museum or something with no friction whatsoever. And I think that's going to be the magical experience that everyone's like, I get it. This is why we need a metaverse browser. This brings the world together in full reality.
So I know I've heard you speak about smart cities, robotics, kind of all this future technology. Are you would you say that AR glasses are going to play a huge role in kind of adopting smart cities, or will there be? Do you think there will be like some there's some other technology out there that is being developed in order to kind of like accommodate for smart cities and all that comes with it?
Yeah, I think what we're doing with these open standards unlock the idea of smart cities. And I'll give you an example. Imagine if I wanted to, you wanted home automation, and I came in and gave you automation, but it only works for your kitchen. And you're like, oh, well, I have to go to a whole different company to manage my bedroom and my bathrooms and all these other areas, and nothing works with each other or something like that. So if you're going to eventually build a smart city, or you're going to start using robotics, they need spatial awareness. They need to know where they're at in the real world. And so you have to build out these 3D maps. So you have companies like Niantic, you have companies like Cesium. There's all these really big companies that help you manage these maps. But some of them are walled garden. Some of them you have to put that map data inside their servers, which a lot of companies are not going to want to do. They're going to want to own their own maps, their own data. So you go there. And so the browser itself makes that seamless to give ownership of that map data to you as the homeowner, or to you as, you own Walmart. They have to have ownership to adopt these technologies. And to answer your question directly, I think AR is really the perfect device to access the real world. And so, like, I'll give you an example. I'll walk you through like how Disney would create 3D websites. So imagine I go to Disneyland. I'm sure most people have been to Disneyland one time or another. So Disneyland, what they'll do is they'll create a digital twin of their entire theme park. Let's call it the one in Anaheim. And that digital twin, they'll own all the maps. It'll sit on their servers. They're going to pick and choose all the software that they want people to interact with. And you, as an employee, you would have your AR glasses and you'd show up to work. And as soon as you walk near the XYZ coordinate space, exactly where it is, because the browser will know where you're at in the real world, it will connect you to Disney's spatial fabric. And as long as I have credentials as an employee, I will get access to the services that they allow me to get access to. And so let's say if I'm fixing a ride that just went down, you're going to have a service that's built by some company that will help you manage fixing and making sure you do all the right check systems to make sure the ride is ready to go and turn back on or something. There's going to be a service that helps you make churros properly, to make the perfect churros, because in Disneyland, everything's got to be perfect. You're going to have AI that's going to help navigate Mickey Mouse so he goes to the right standing areas to greet people for 5 minutes and move to the next station. You're going to have all this software, just makes it easy to navigate what you're doing. But then you as a consumer, you're going to come in just with any AR glasses or mobile device. You're going to connect through the browser. The browser will know you're at Disneyland, but instead of typing in Disneyland.com, it knows you're there because you're standing a foot away from the actual land that they own and they manage. And what? I can have Darth Vader greet me and say, "Welcome to Disneyland. Let me take you on, to space stores, and I'll show you how to get there." Or I'll be like, "Hey, where's the bathroom, Darth Vader?" Or Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse or whatever character that they allow me to use, and it's going to help me navigate the real Disneyland space. And then here's even crazier. Disneyland is going to say, well, I want to build Star Wars Galaxy 1-to-1 scale. I'm talking about every planet in Star Wars, every location, and they can run that on their own servers just like they do their website. And I can literally pick any device and go to that location, and instantly I can be with hundreds, if not millions of people roaming around the entire Star Wars galaxy. And I have to be just one person. When I open up the web browser, I don't have to change my identity. I can go to any website I want without having to worry about that my identity works. The same will be true for the metaverse. I can create one avatar, one identity, and go across all these experiences, whether in the real world or virtually. It's going to be unbelievable. Like I can't describe how awesome this is going to be. Take every experience that all of us have seen thus far and put it in one big open ecosystem. It's going to be nuts. And I think that's the fun part about this. And I think AR glasses are going to play a really big role in connecting virtual spaces or people that are stuck in home or in different countries. Anyone will be able to join anywhere, anyone, anytime in the real world by just connecting to a browser from any device. To me, that is what's going to make this seamless, and everyone can start adopting these technologies. That's going to be the moment we all win together, basically.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to it. So, in other words, out of this whole topic, what I'm getting out of it is, don't sleep on the AR glasses.
Oh no, I promise you, the AR glasses are 100% going to be a thing. It's going to be awesome. I mean, AR glasses, I kid you not, they're going to be eventually small, lightweight, and you just literally, just like when you take the phone, like someone's calling you, you pick the phone out of your pocket and you bring it up to your ear, or you have your earbuds in or something like that. You're gonna have your glasses in your pocket. You're just gonna pop them right on. I was like, "Oh, what's up, Sinful? How's it going?" And you were like, "My man, Sean, how's it going?" And then we're like, "Hey, I'm headed over to get a bite to eat. You want to join me?" And you're like, "Sure, I got nothing to do." And you're gonna sit and walk with me, and you're gonna sit at the table that I'm at, and I'm going to see you, and I'm going to be eating real food, and you're going to be like, "Man, I want to show you this cool thing." You can show me things. You're going to be able to grab things like services or things that you want us to interact with. You're going to be able to go to classrooms and be there in the real world, and people can be there. You're going to have classmates that are there virtually, and you're there in the real world, and we're all going to see each other and be able to learn stuff that the professor's talking about. I mean, this is going to do things that the web did for us on pages. And it's just going to be like so seamless. But AR glasses 100% is going to replace, I believe, mobile phones at some point. I mean, it's if you're walking around the real world, walking around with a 4-inch screen would be silly. You're going to laugh. You're going to be like imagine trying to look up and down and left and right in this 4-inch screen where glasses just see everything. It's going to be a no-brainer. And I think people will eventually adopt them pretty darn easily.
Well, okay, it makes me, and I'm gonna throw in a bad joke in there, maybe, that the next iteration of technology when it comes to cell phones or devices related like cell phones would be AR glasses. Kind of makes me feel better, because normally I like to joke around and say, well, once we don't need the cell phones anymore, they're just going to implant microchips into us. So,
right.
So I'm happy that there is a buffer in between before major
implants.
surgery.
Before implants. They were talking about, funny enough, Sinful, they were talking about contact lenses. And there are actually workable prototypes where you can put a contact lens in, and it will give you computing that you can see through the contact lens. And there's lots of different technologies that are being, sought after to make it super easy, including implants that I'm sure Elon Musk has talked about in public, where people that didn't have the ability to speak or do certain things, it really gave them certain things. But yeah, I think AR glasses is definitely a better step than having to implant something in our heads. I agree with you 100% on that one.
So, a question from old guy in the crowd. Do you think we will ever have ownership of our identities on owned servers? When you
yes, that's the
ahead.
whole purpose of this project. The identity will be built into Sneeze, where you can create your own identity. You manage it and own it yourself. I'm sure there'll be Web3 competing technologies that enable you to manage your identity, and there'll be a standard that works with browsers, and you create your identity, and you can walk across all these different spatial websites that are built by anyone, including the real world. And so that's the whole purpose of this, is to solve the interoperability problem of moving from one platform to another. If it's all built into Sneeze and the actual 3D browser, the identity no longer becomes a problem. It's built in from the ground up to give you full ownership of your data. So you'll be able to walk around incognito where no one will know your name or your identity. And it's up to you if you want to share that information with people. No different when you walk into a supermarket, they don't know who you are or your name or anything unless you want to share that with them. You get to pick and choose the data that you share no matter which place that you go to. You have full control. No different than when you open up a web browser, you can control who you give data to, who you interact with, and whatnot. The same will be true for the open metaverse and the new browser technologies.
Let's see. Oh, that's just Meg saying, fantastic combo, fam. Been on Twitch for most of it, and leaving Mew smoke signals. Oh, let's see if it's any important smoke signals here that I've been missing. Let's see. Let's see. It's loving smoke signals. Oh, wait. Let's see. Can we adapt this format? So Make is asking in the Twitch chat, can we adopt a open DCL with this format? And also goes on to say that Lastrum would probably be a good fit to connect with, because Lastrum it has been working on a browser version of Decentraland, and he's been just like pushing limits and putting in features that aren't even in the original Decentraland browser, or in the client. So in a way, like, Decentraland like is an open protocol as well. Anyone could build on Decentraland, and anyone can build their own version on this of Decentraland. So I guess like I'll let you answer that question, and then I have a follow-up.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you, it's really hard because I'm a fan of Decentraland. I'm a fan of Roblox. I'm a fan of Meta Horizons. I think all of these companies created amazing platforms that really showcase a lot of cool stuff you can do. VR chat, Altspace, all these places were badass. They had experiences where you can connect with the community. Because at the end of the day, erase technology, people just want to connect with each other. They want to find people that they enjoy being with and share technologies and experiences and make it seamless. When you're talking about solving for the entire world, I mean, let's take this away. Not solving for Decentraland or the handful of people that are part of the Decentraland community. We're talking about the billions of people that connect using worldwide, the open, World Wide Web infrastructure, right? And so we're solving this in a way that Decentraland could literally, and anybody, not just Decentraland, can go get their own planet with a massive amount of land and space, and they can give that and parse it out to as many people as they want, just like the Star Wars Galaxy thing. If Disney wanted to give people the ability to have a home or their own coordinate space in the Star Wars Galaxy, you could get your own space. They will give you ownership however they want to do that. Because again, it's like your website. If I gave you a web page, how do I give you access? I would choose how that works. I can use Web3. I can pick and choose all the layers that make that possible. So Disney could literally give homes to every single person in the world to participate and have fun in the Disney community. Decentraland could do the same thing. Decentraland they can map out the exact same space they have right now, create that with spatial fabrics and a huge map system, and everyone would move over to those XYZ coordinate spaces. They would use the open tooling that's built by anyone in the world. So you're no longer stuck in just tooling for Decentraland or just tooling for Blender or just tooling for Roblox. You would have open tooling that would work across all 3D spaces. And now you have the interoperability of a full open metaverse, the evolution of the entire World Wide Web. And it's important because that's not, again, we're not just solving for social, we're solving for Walmart, we're solving for Costco, we're solving for, when I walk into a Costco, their spatial fabric, I'm able to connect AI to help me find the toilet paper and the eggs so I can get in and out as fast as possible, or have cool advertising that shows me these knives are sharper than anything else and I should buy them. Like, it's going to give me all the interactive things that I can interact with. But if you don't standardize how you build those things, then it's going to be really hard for people to go from one device to another and connect with each other. And so the answer is Decentraland easily could take their entire community, convert it over to an open map system using these new open technologies. And you can have rules. You can have your own rules. It's your own planet. You can do whatever you want with it. You control, there's no company that can tell you what you're allowed to do there. You can give access. People can control who has access in the different fabrics. You basically have all the rights, and Decentraland can manage that and sublease those spaces to everyone that will have their spaces. And you have now your Decentraland community. But the cool thing is, when I'm done hanging out with my boys and girls and everyone else in the Decentraland community, I can easily go to a meeting at, at Costco, or join my wife that's shopping at Walmart or something like that. Like, I'm not limited to just Decentraland. I can connect anywhere else seamlessly with my avatars, and I can have multiple avatars where I can change from different identities seamlessly from any device. So I don't have to worry about downloading 100 different apps and different platforms to make that all possible. That's the whole purpose of an open metaverse. Hopefully that answers that. I mean, it's not to get rid of them, it's to evolve them into an open ecosystem, basically.
Yeah. So let's say hypothetical, like Decentraland watched this interview. They said, "Man, Sean's the man. I love what he's building. Let's get Decentraland into Artemis. I'm sorry. Well, into man, Sneeze. There we go.
Yeah.
And get Decentraland contributing into the metaverse, open metaverse form. What does it look like for them?
So right now, it wouldn't look like what they need. They need an avatar system to be built into Sneeze. They need the identity. They need the VPS. That needs to be completed. And that'll be, look, the browser has never been completed. It's always evolving over the last couple of decades, but it's going to be in a really good place probably in the next 6 to 9 months or so. And this is where you're going to have all the main feature sets. You're going to be able to create an avatar and seamlessly go to any 3D space built by anyone in the open metaverse. Decentraland would be able to go ahead and say, we want to create this massive map, a map that's ginormous, right? It could be identical to the Decentraland map today. And they can say, well, we already have a map of who owns those spaces and who doesn't own those spaces. And they can manage that. They can create their own user interface and all these things that help give people access and all that kind of stuff, gives them the same ownership. And they can charge if they wanted to. They can sublease it. They own that map. And that map would just be a part of a location that people can go to, just like I would go to, my location. If I just wanted to build a digital twin of my house, that would be Sean's location, right? Or if I just want to build an MMO or a game or a map of anything, I could build whatever I want because it's just a website. This would just be a massive map, a massive website that has unlimited 3D spaces, and the tooling would be the open tooling for the open metaverse. And so anyone would be able to convert. So I'm sure someone would build a conversion tool that would take your Decentraland space, convert it into something that streams really easily on spatial fabrics. And right away, you would have your ownership and access to that space, and anyone can come there with an avatar and instantly be a part of that. And so it would not be hard to do that. There would be obviously, Decentraland have spend some time to figure out how do you recreate kind of whatever ecosystem they want, whatever control, because Decentraland does to a degree have control, right? They control the tools, they control certain things within the community, right? And they could still do the same thing if they wanted to, even with these open standards, right? And it's up to you if you want to join that community. No different than I can join any forum on any website anywhere in the world, but I have to abide by their rules or I get kicked, right? Same thing would be with Decentraland. So Decentraland would be able to replicate their entire ecosystem, but it would be the world building tools, and you would be leap years ahead of what you could do inside of a Decentraland. And the community would be just as strong as the people that want to join Decentraland. No different than, like, I'm a Street Fighter fan. So if I join a Street Fighter community, it's only as strong as the people that love Street Fighter that want to join and talk to each other about a cool subject matter. Decentraland has its community of people that want to be together. They would just recreate that community with the same kind of experiences, with the same types of ownerships. And so it would be no different than what you're doing today, but 1,000 times better, because you're going to have way more tools and capabilities at all the locations that are seamless.
And so Old Guy has a question, and I think it would relate to my previous Decentraland question, well, follow-up for it. He says, if all this is built, what would be the cost, or would it be free? So, like, let's put it in the Decentraland terms. If Decentraland were to build it all, getting ready to to deploy, or would there be any costs associated besides the server costs?
So the answer is very minimal, because what RP1 is going to be providing is a universal map system that has an endless universe, right? So if Decentraland wanted to build their own spatial fabric that's massive, planet size, and they want to point it at a location inside of RP1, RP1 for a very small fee would provide the scaling technology necessary for to handle all the avatars, hundreds of thousands of people roaming around all the locations in Decentraland, or millions of people, however many people are in the community. And so those costs would be close to running the cost of a website. I mean, again, we're using 1,000 times less compute to handle the spatial audio and the 6DOF. So it makes it really easy for Decentraland not to take on all those costs themselves, because I know that's got to be a challenge, right? I mean, someone's got to be flipping that bill to manage all the avatars and all the connectivity to all the different spaces. That would be at 1,000 times less compute, and you wouldn't be limited on the number of users in a single space, or the seamlessness of me walking from old guy's space to one existence to yours. I literally, you guys could be in adjoining locations, and I can wave over to you on your spatial fabric, but you own and manage all the assets. If you update a tree, it automatically updates for everyone, like in that space. Like, you manage that space completely. And again, that would be with open tooling. So the hard thing with Decentraland, and I know, because I've been a part of the community, is updating those tools is really hard. Like, who's going to pay for the engineers? They're going to create the tooling, and then people are like, "Well, I want this feature," and well, okay, we'll just add it on the list of 1,000 things that everyone wants. With the open tooling of the open metaverse, you no longer have that problem. You could build whatever you want in your space in Decentraland, and you could bring in any software. That's the killer. Like, if you want to play a game of chess, or you want to name anything you want to do right now in the Decentraland space that I'm seeing right now, you could grab that built by anyone, drop it right on the floor, and we can all interact with it.
Mhm.
And it's that seamless. There's no more programming nightmares or figuring out how to make that all work, where you have to be, it's like no code heaven, because it just makes it seamless, just like, how you deal with websites and plugins and stuff. So that's the goal, is no code tools that just make it seamless to manage your space. So you don't need a huge programming background. You got Claude, for God's sakes. I mean,
Yes.
AI would just take care of it for you. This is no longer going to be a nightmare. And the cool thing is, if you learn how to build for Decentraland in the open metaverse, you could build stuff for Walmart or a digital twin of your house. Like, you can connect anywhere from any device, never having to build a different avatar if you don't want to. And to me, that is the idea of a truly open metaverse, is I can be Sean and I can go across all the locations and not worry about my stuff not working, when I go to each space. And that's the most important thing that we have to figure out. And by the way, creators should want that too, because if I create really cool t-shirts or cool watches or cool things that I want to sell, if it works across all locations, Roblox can't take 100% of my revenue or 99% of my revenue, or stop me from selling things or not creating avatars. It works across the open metaverse. So now all the creators can participate without a company saying you can't build. And that, to me, it gives the power to the entire community. That's why these things are needed, because without that, how do we make money?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because the platforms are just going to take all the money. And that's why these standards need to be in place, so you have the freedom to build and be a part of an ecosystem that no one can take away. Just like you could build for the web, no one can take away your identity or how you move from one web page to another. You own that experience.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm happy you mentioned Claude, and how the capabilities that we have here in 2026. And to tell you the truth, I could see this being kind of a project that one of our community members just takes helm for and just starts building Decentraland. So this is awesome. And so, hey guys, there's ideas. Here are ideas. I'm throwing them into the ether. Let's make it happen. and I was just Make was making a comment like, "Stop it, no code heaven." So I said to him that you're talking dirty to us, because
I got you. Listen, as technical as I sound, and I know a lot, but I'm not, like, if you're to tell me to go whip up a web server, not my jam. All right. I mean, I play games, but I'm not an engineer, right? And so I can talk to a certain level, but if you want to make it easy, it's got to be as easy as building something in a game or somewhere else. And that's why a lot of these platforms brought people, because a lot of people don't have the technical capability, and so they go to, like, the alt spaces that give you the tools and you learn them once. But the open metaverse is going to be no different than building web pages. Right now, you can go to